Money can buy happiness, but no amount of wealth can buy the things we have on our list today. Certain things are just off limits, even for presidents. There's only 30 things beyond the reach of everyone, and here they are. A frozen kingdom at the edge of the earth, Antarctica is bigger than Europe. Yet no one, not a billionaire, not a country, not even a sneaky real estate mogul can own a piece of it. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, locked it away from borders, wars, and business deals. No one can buy land here. No one can build cities. It's off limits forever, but that hasn't stopped people from trying. Some have dreamed of claiming it, but Antarctica fights back with brutal cold. Temperatures can drop to minus 128 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice buries everything. Even if you had a deed, where would you plant your flag? The only ones truly at home here are the penguins. Scientists visit to study the secrets frozen beneath the ice, but they don't own it either. Antarctica isn't just protected, it refuses to be claimed. Never for sale. No amount of power, money, or influence can give someone ownership over another person. It was wrong in the past, and it will always be wrong. Slavery, once a horrific reality in many parts of the world, is now banned everywhere. Laws, human rights agreements, and sheer moral truth make it clear. No one can buy, sell, or own another human being. Even though legal slavery has been abolished, illegal trafficking and forced labor still exist in the shadows. Governments and organizations fight against these crimes every day, ensuring that no one is treated as property. Every person has the right to freedom, dignity, and choice. No document, contract, or sum of money can change that. Ownership is for objects, not people. This is a truth that stands firm now and forever. No one's property. The moon might shine over us every night, but no one can own it. Same goes for Mars, asteroids, and every other rock floating in space. Why? The Outer Space Treaty, signed in 1967, made it clear space belongs to everyone and no one at the same time. No buying, no claiming, no dividing planets like real estate. That hasn't stopped people from trying. Some companies have sold lunar land deeds, but they're just fancy souvenirs, legally worthless. Even governments can't plant a flag and call dibs, not even on valuable asteroids packed with rare metals. Space is a wild frontier, but it's not for sale. For now, it remains untouched, waiting for explorers, not owners. The universe is vast, but no amount of money can buy a piece of the stars. Forever free?
Footage was captured by the American Space Agency's Solar Dynamic.
Sunlight touches everything, warming oceans, growing forests, and powering cities. It's the most abundant energy source on Earth, yet no one can buy, sell, or own it. In 2010, a woman in Spain went as far as legally claiming the sun, even demanding fees for its use. Of course, courts laughed it off. You can harness sunlight, capture it with solar panels, or study its power, but controlling it? Impossible. No government can tax it, no company can lock it away, and no amount of money can make the sun shine just for one person. Whether you're standing in a desert or on a mountaintop, those golden rays belong to no one and everyone at the same time. It's one of the last great forces on Earth that remains completely free, pouring down without limits, untouched by human ownership. Falling but not free. Rain falls from the sky, soaking fields, filling rivers, and bringing life to the planet. It seems like the ultimate free resource, until the law steps in. In some places, collecting rainwater is actually illegal. Water rights laws in certain countries and states say that rain belongs to the government or local utilities once it hits the ground. The idea is that rainfall feeds natural waterways, and taking too much could disrupt ecosystems or reduce public water supplies. Some places like Colorado have eased restrictions, allowing small-scale collection, but large storage systems are still tightly controlled. It sounds strange. How can something falling from the sky belong to anyone? Yet in these regions, even a simple rain barrel could put you on the wrong side of the law. While nature gives freely, human rules sometimes decide otherwise. Keep your space. A meteorite crashes to Earth, a rock that traveled millions of miles through space. You'd think finding one would mean it's yours to keep, but in some places, that's not the case. Laws in countries like Argentina, Australia, and Canada say meteorites belong to the state, not the person who finds them. Why? These space rocks are scientifically valuable, holding clues about the universe's origins. Governments and research institutions often claim them for study, preventing private collectors from hoarding or selling them. Even in places where meteorite ownership is allowed, you might need a permit to legally keep or sell one. So if a rock from the cosmos lands in your backyard, don't assume it's yours. Depending on where you live, it might belong to science or the government before you even pick it up. Stolen history. British Museum. We have our eyes on you for this one. Ancient treasures, statues, jewelry, sacred texts hold the stories of civilizations long gone, but if they were taken illegally, no collector or museum can truly own them. Many artifacts were looted during wars, stolen from tombs, or smuggled across borders, and international laws now work to return them to their rightful homes. Countries like Egypt, Greece, and India have been demanding their stolen history back for years. Even if someone buys a smuggled artifact, that doesn't make it legal. Nations and law enforcement track down these missing pieces, ensuring they return to their rightful owners. And then there's the British Museum, which has an entire collection that looks like a world tour of things we definitely didn't steal, but absolutely did. As laws tighten, the message is clear. History isn't a souvenir. Some things belong to humanity, not a gift shop. That's off limits. Towering mountains, endless forests, roaring waterfalls. National parks are nature's greatest treasures, protected for everyone to enjoy. But if you were hoping to buy a slice of Yosemite or set up a mansion in Yellowstone, forget it. No one, not billionaires, corporations, or private buyers, can own land inside these parks. Governments protect these areas to keep them wild, free from development, and open to the public. That means no luxury resorts, no private hunting grounds, and definitely no for sale signs. Even oil and mining companies, which would love to dig up resources, are blocked from moving in. The whole point of national parks is to keep them untouched so future generations can hike, explore, and enjoy nature the same way we do today. Some things in life aren't meant to be owned, and national parks are one of them. Space landlord. Ever wanted to own beachfront property on Mars? Bad news, you can't. No matter what those online land sellers promise, no company, country, or billionaire can claim a single inch of the red planet. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 made it clear celestial bodies aren't up for grabs. That hasn't stopped people from trying. In the 1980s, a guy literally declared himself the owner of the moon and started selling plots, including on Mars. Legally, it means nothing. You'd have better luck buying a star and actually moving in. Even if humans colonize Mars one day, property laws will have to be built from the ground up, literally. So unless you enjoy paying for a very expensive imaginary deed, maybe invest in something more useful, like oxygen. GM humans. Science has come a long way. Gene editing can now alter DNA, potentially curing diseases or even enhancing traits. But let's get one thing straight. No one can own a genetically modified human. No company, no scientist, no billionaire with a futuristic lab can claim a person as their creation. Laws and ethics make it clear. Every human, regardless of genetic modifications, has rights. Even if technology advances to the point of designer babies with custom eye colors or enhanced abilities, those individuals will always be people, not property. The idea of patenting or controlling a living, breathing person is straight up dystopian. Movies have warned us about this for years. And honestly, no one needs a real-life sci-fi nightmare. Science can push boundaries, but ownership? That's one line that'll never be crossed. Move along, buddy. No matter how rich, powerful, or wildly ambitious someone is, buying an entire country is impossible. Countries aren't real estate listings. You can't just throw down a blank check and claim ownership like it's a private island. Even the wealthiest billionaires couldn't purchase a nation because countries are made up of people, governments, and sovereignty, not just land. Throughout history, powerful individuals have tried from emperors to modern tycoons, but international law makes it clear. Nations aren't commodities. Sure, money can influence politics, politics, fund governments, or even shape economies, but outright owning a country, not happening. Even if a struggling nation wanted to sell itself, which would be a legal and political disaster, the global community wouldn't allow it. Countries are built on independence, identity, and history, not on price tags. Some things in life are priceless, and an entire nation is one of them. Priceless Casper. Believe it or not, people have actually tried to sell ghosts. From haunted dolls to bottled spirits, eBay and other sites have seen their fair share of supernatural listings. But legally, you can't own a ghost. Why? Because no government recognizes spirits as property, and good luck proving one exists in court. That hasn't stopped people from cashing in on the paranormal. Some sell cursed objects or even claim to trap ghosts in jars, because apparently ghosts fit in containers now. But buying a haunted item doesn't mean you legally own the spirit inside, if it even sticks around. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing's clear: the supernatural isn't for sale. And if someone does manage to legally own a ghost, they better hope it doesn't demand back pay for all those years of unpaid haunting. Private pool. The ocean is massive. It covers over 70% of Earth, but no one can own it. Sure, countries control waters up to 12 nautical miles from their shores, but once you go beyond that, you're in international waters where no single nation or billionaire can claim ownership. That doesn't mean people haven't tried. Companies drill for oil, fishermen cast massive nets, and some have even attempted to build their own micro-nations in the open sea. But legally, the ocean isn't for sale. The United Nations Law of the Sea ensures that these waters remain free for all, preventing anyone from turning them into private property. Even mega-rich tycoons with their yachts and floating mansions can't buy a chunk of the deep blue. The ocean belongs to everyone, and if anyone tells you otherwise, they're probably selling bridges too. Money can buy nothing. Old worn-out bills and coins don't just vanish, they get destroyed or decommissioned by governments. And once that happens, you can't own them. Whether it's shredded banknotes, melted down coins, or discontinued designs, government-issued money that's been officially pulled from circulation is no longer up for grabs. That hasn't stopped collectors from trying. Rare misprints, historical currency, and even obsolete bills sometimes slip through the cracks. But anything officially destroyed is considered untouchable. Some governments even ban owning large amounts of decommissioned money to prevent counterfeiting or illegal resale. So, if you ever see a suitcase full of shredded cash, no, you can't glue it back together and claim it. Some things are priceless, not because they're valuable, but because they legally don't exist anymore. Red button. No matter how rich, powerful, or insanely reckless someone is, owning a nuclear weapon is absolutely impossible. Only a handful of governments control them, and strict international laws ensure they never fall into private hands. Even countries without nukes can't just buy one. It's not like there's a secret arms dealer selling warheads on eBay. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, ensures that nukes stay under strict government control. Even building one in your basement, yeah, that's illegal everywhere. It's a level of danger that makes even DD from Dexter's Laboratory look responsible. If private ownership of nukes were allowed, you just know some chaotic fool would be pressing buttons like DD, except this time, the stakes would be way higher than ruining a science project. Some things should never, ever be on the market, and this is at the top of that list. Not your pets. No matter how much someone wants a pet tiger, a rare parrot, or a baby panda, owning endangered animals is strictly illegal. Many species are protected under global conservation laws like the Endangered Species Act and CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. These laws exist to stop poaching, illegal trading, and habitat destruction. Because let's be real, nature isn't a pet store. That hasn't stopped people from trying. Some black markets sell exotic animals to the highest bidder, but authorities crack down hard on trafficking. Even if someone did manage to get an endangered animal, keeping one is a massive responsibility. These creatures belong in the wild, not in a backyard or a billionaire's private zoo. So unless you're running a certified wildlife sanctuary, leave the rare animals where they belong, in their natural homes, far from human greed. Buyer, beware. Haunted dolls, cursed rings, and eerie relics. People love selling spooky stuff, but in some places it's actually illegal to put certain cursed or religious artifacts on the market. Some governments ban the sale of sacred objects tied to cultural heritage, while others crack down on selling so-called haunted items to prevent scams. that hasn't stopped sellers from getting creative. eBay once had to ban the sale of ghosts, souls, and haunted objects because people were auctioning off everything from possessed teddy bears to mystical amulets. And let's be honest, if an item is truly cursed, do you really want to own it? Horror movies have taught us that's never a good idea. Whether it's a sacred relic or a supposedly haunted trinket, some things are better left alone, unless you enjoy unleashing paranormal chaos in your living room. Not yours. Some land can't be bought no matter how much money is on the table. Sovereign indigenous territories are protected by laws that prevent private ownership, ensuring they remain in the hands of the communities that have lived there for generations. These lands hold deep cultural, spiritual, and historical significance, making them priceless, literally. Of course, history tells a different story. Let's just say that when Europeans arrived in the Americas, they weren't exactly asking for the deed. If land grabbing had a world record, certain colonizers would still hold the high score. Today, indigenous nations fight to protect what remains, with treaties and laws ensuring their sovereignty. So no, you can't just waltz in and buy a piece of tribal land, especially since history already proved that taking it didn't work out so well the first time. Sticky situation. No matter how much of a thrill seeker someone is, owning military-grade combat equipment is completely illegal. Governments keep a tight grip on things like C4, grenades, and missile warheads for obvious reasons, because handing them out to civilians would be absolute chaos. Even collectors of military artifacts can't get their hands on active weaponry. If it still goes boom, you're not allowed to have it. Of course, that hasn't stopped some people from trying. Every so often, authorities bust someone with an unexploded relic from a war, because nothing says bad life choices like keeping a live grenade as a souvenir. Even decommissioned military gear is heavily regulated. Bottom line, if you're not in the armed forces, you're not getting anywhere near these things, and honestly, that's probably for the best. Some people can barely handle fireworks, let alone military explosives. Votes aren't currency. No matter how much cash someone waves around, votes can't be bought, legally at least. Elections are supposed to be about choice, not commerce, which is why bribing, buying, or selling votes is a serious crime worldwide. Laws exist to keep elections fair, though history has seen plenty of shady attempts to persuade voters with promises, favors, or mysteriously stuffed ballot boxes. Of course, that doesn't stop some people from trying. From fake votes to last-minute technical errors, election scandals are almost a global tradition. But when caught, the consequences are severe. Fines, jail time, and a one-way ticket to political disgrace. So while money can buy power, influence, and a ridiculous amount of private jets, it can't buy democracy. Well, at least not officially. No ledge. Some books are so valuable, even billionaires can't add them to their collections. Rare manuscripts, ancient texts, and historical documents are often classified as national treasures, meaning they belong to the world, not some private library. Governments and museums strictly control these works, ensuring they stay preserved for future generations, instead of collecting dust in a rich person's vault. Take Leonardo da Vinci's Codex Leicester, which Bill Gates technically owns, but it's still required to be displayed for the public. Some texts are so rare that they're never for sale, like the Domesday Book in the UK or the Gutenberg Bible locked away in museums. Even if someone did manage to buy one illegally, good luck explaining that when the authorities come knocking. Some books are meant to be read, not owned. Landless Korea. If you've ever dreamed of buying a vacation home in North Korea, well, you can't. In fact, no foreigner can legally own land there, not even the wealthiest investors. The government owns all property, and even North Korean citizens don't technically own their homes. They're just granted the right to use them. Buying real estate in most countries is a simple transaction, but in North Korea, it's a government-controlled privilege. Foreign businesses can lease land under strict conditions, but full ownership, not happening. Even if you somehow pulled off a shady deal, good luck enforcing property rights in a place where the government makes all the rules. Anyways, if you were hoping to own a piece of Pyongyang real estate, you're out of luck. Maybe try a North Korea souvenir shop instead. Those are actually legal to buy from. No DIY nukes. If you were thinking about building a backyard nuclear reactor, bad news. You can't buy the key ingredients. Enriched uranium and plutonium are strictly controlled, and for good reason. These materials are used in nuclear power plants and, well, the stuff that makes world leaders very nervous. Governments heavily regulate who can possess, transport, or even handle these substances. Even scientists working in nuclear research need serious clearance to access them, and if an individual somehow gets their hands on some, expect a very aggressive knock at the door from international authorities. Of course, this hasn't stopped a few people from trying. A teenager in Michigan once attempted to build a reactor in his shed. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well. So unless you want your name on every government watch list, it's best to stick to science fair projects that don't require radiation suits. Internet isn't yours. Despite what some tech billionaires might wish, no one owns the internet. It's a massive, borderless web of networks controlled by millions of servers, companies, and individuals all over the world. Sure, corporations own websites, platforms, and infrastructure, but the internet itself, it belongs to no one and everyone. Governments try to regulate parts of it, companies fight to control access, and some places even restrict it entirely. Looking at you, North Korea, but at the end of the day, the internet is too vast, too decentralized, and too wild to be claimed by a single entity. Even the people who literally run the internet's core systems can't just pull the plug. So while some companies might act like they own it, looking at certain social media giants, the truth is, the internet is the ultimate free real estate, as long as you can pay for Wi-Fi. Free ocean gold. The deep sea hides untouched treasures, gold, rare earth minerals, and metals that could power the future. But if you think you can just dive in and start mining, think again. International laws and government regulations make deep sea mining nearly impossible without proper authorization. Most of these minerals lie in international waters, meaning no single country can claim and exploit them freely. The International Seabed Authority, ISA, decides who gets mining rights, and even then, environmental concerns make approvals rare and heavily restricted. Companies dream of tapping into this underwater fortune, but for now, the deep sea remains mostly untouched. So unless you have billions in funding, government backing, and a fleet of high-tech submarines, your deep sea mining dreams are sinking fast. Holy souvenirs. Some artifacts are so sacred, you can't just buy them and put them on display. Certain religious relics like sacred texts, ancient relics, or artifacts linked to spiritual figures are protected by laws, religious institutions, or even entire governments. For example, the Vatican isn't auctioning off pieces of St. Peter's tomb, and you won't find the Ark of the Covenant on eBay. If you do, it's definitely a scam. Many relics are considered cultural or spiritual treasures, meaning they can't be bought, sold, or owned by individuals. That hasn't stopped black market dealers from trying, but owning a stolen relic is both illegal and a surefire way to end up cursed in every horror movie ever. So if you're looking for something spiritual, maybe just stick to a nice candle instead. Free for now. No matter how powerful or rich someone is, they can't buy the air itself. It's one of the few things truly free to all, floating around in endless supply. Unless you're in a sci-fi dystopia where corporations start charging per breath, give it time. Of course, people have tried to profit off it. Companies sell bottled fresh air from mountaintops, and oxygen bars exist for those who want a little extra O2 boost. But the air itself, no government, company, or billionaire can claim ownership over it. Even if someone tried, enforcing it would be impossible. What? Are they going to invoice you every time you inhale? Until the day air becomes a subscription service, we can all keep breathing freely, at least outside of major cities where pollution hasn't claimed it first. Black market bargains. Organs aren't collectibles, and thankfully most of the world agrees. Buying or selling human organs is illegal in nearly every country, and for good reason. It's not just unethical, but also a legal and medical nightmare. Organ transplants are meant to save lives, not become bidding wars for the highest offer. That's why legal transplants rely on donation systems and strict medical protocols. But of course, black markets exist, with some shady people trying to turn kidneys into commodities. Governments worldwide crack down hard on illegal organ trade, and anyone caught buying, selling, or smuggling organs is looking at serious consequences. So if you ever see a buy one get one free kidney deal online, run, because there's no refund policy on that kind of transaction. Data mining. Your personal info isn't up for grabs, at least not legally. Laws like GDPR, CCPA, and others make it illegal to buy, sell, or misuse personal data without consent. That means your name, address, browsing history, and even those embarrassing search queries can't just be auctioned off to the highest bidder. Of course, some companies try to find loopholes, collecting data through sneaky terms and conditions, or tracking cookies you never agreed to. But when caught, they face massive fines and lawsuits. Just ask Facebook, Google, or any company that's ever had a privacy scandal. While your data should be safe, the internet is still a wild place. Always read the fine print, because while no one can legally own your data, plenty of people would love to get their hands on it anyway. Pirate signals. You can own a radio, but you can't just claim a frequency and start broadcasting your mixtapes worldwide. Governments tightly control the airwaves, making it illegal to transmit on certain frequencies without a license. This prevents signal interference, ensuring everything from emergency services to your favorite FM station runs smoothly. That's why pirate radio stations, unauthorized broadcasts are shut down fast. The authorities don't take kindly to random people hijacking frequencies, no matter how fire their playlists are. Even big companies must bid for their slice of the spectrum, whether it's for radio, TV, or even Wi-Fi signals. Unless you've got government approval, don't expect to set up your own radio empire. The airwaves may be everywhere, but without permission, you'll just be talking to static or a team of regulators knocking on your door. Today's open discussion involves one of the most powerful people on the planet, yet even their hands are tied. And for things that you can actually own and do. Aha! Take that, Mr. President. Side hustles in office. Being a world leader is a full-time job, so running a business on the side, that's a big no-go in many countries, including the US. Laws exist to prevent conflicts of interest, ensuring leaders focus on governing instead of turning their position into a corporate gold mine. Imagine a president owning a hotel. Would world leaders stay there just to win favors? What if a company bribed them through business deals? It's a legal and ethical disaster waiting to happen. That's why many nations force leaders to step away from personal businesses, sometimes placing assets in blind trust so they can't pull the strings. Of course, loopholes exist, and some politicians find ways to bend the rules. But on paper, at least, a sitting president can't double as a CEO. Running a country and a company, yeah, that's too much power in one briefcase. No Snapchat. When you're a world leader, texting on a normal smartphone isn't just risky, it's a national security nightmare. Many presidents aren't allowed to use personal phones because hackers, spies, and even rival governments would love to peek at their messages. Instead of a regular iPhone or Android, they get super secure government-issued devices, often stripped of cameras, GPS, and even basic apps. No social media scrolling, no funny memes, and definitely no TikTok rabbit holes. Even emails and calls are heavily encrypted to prevent leaks. Some leaders have ignored these rules, using personal phones anyway, only to have them hacked almost instantly. So while the rest of us casually text and doom scroll, world leaders have to settle for old school locked down tech. No fun, but at least no one's reading their DMS, hopefully. Offshore accounts. Some countries don't trust their leaders with foreign bank accounts. And honestly, can you blame them? To prevent corruption, tax evasion, and shady deals, certain nations ban government officials from stashing money overseas. The idea is simple. If a leader has millions hidden in a Swiss bank, how can the public be sure they're working for the country and not just padding their retirement fund? Offshore accounts have been linked to money laundering, bribery, and financial scandals. So many governments outlaw them for top officials. Of course, that doesn't stop some politicians from trying. Leaks like the Panama Papers have exposed leaders secretly hoarding fortunes abroad. But in places where the law is enforced, officials have to keep their money where their mouth is, in their own country, with nowhere to hide it when things go south. Thank you very much for watching the video. Share in the comments, and do like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again,